Hi and welcome to episode 2. Thank you for watching the last video. I got lots of feedback from people and it was absolutely great to hear all your views and thoughts. Once again, thank you for the support. It means the world to me to be able to actually reach people through this platform. So spreading it out means I can reach more people. So once again, please like and share the videos if possible. Thank you. As you may have guessed from the episode title, today's episode is about growing up being deaf. Now please remember, everyone's experience is different, so I'm only just talking about my experience, about what happened in my life. Okay? Let's go. I was born in this world 32 years ago, and I was born profoundly deaf. However, my parents didn't actually know that I was deaf until I was 2 years old. The reason being that the baby screening process didn't pick up that I was deaf. No idea why. And my parents always thought that something wasn't quite right, but they didn't know what it was until my little brother was born 2 years later, and the baby screening thing found out that he was deaf, which is when they thought, hold on a minute, similarities, got me stressed out again, and found out that I was deaf as well. So both me and my middle brother, both born profoundly deaf. My mum and dad always talked to us like lots and lots to give us that language input, but also my mum took up sign language classes, because at the end of the day, my parents wanted to give us both signing and speaking. I moved that, even to today, I think it's the best thing ever, because giving us that meant that we could then grow up having the best of both and being able to decide what we wanted to use. All the support, all the speech practice, all the sign practice, you know, they put in a lot of hard work for me and my brother, and I'm actually eternally grateful for being born into such a loving family. I went to primary school with a base. It was a mainstream school, but there was a deaf base, which exposed us to signing and speaking. So there was oralism, there was BSL, British Sign Language, and there was also SSE, which is like Sign Spoken English. So we had a good exposure of all of that. We were also given lots of speech therapy as well, and I hated it as a kid because I hated being told what to do, but I cannot deny that without it, my speech, even though it isn't perfect now, I'm not saying it is, but it would be a lot worse if I hadn't done it. I found it hard to miss with mainstream children because I couldn't pick up on social cues as well as my hearing peers could. So I was a bit delayed, but thankfully I had some great adults in the base that actually helped me and my deaf peers with like emotional studies and building up social skills, taking us on days out and all that, like going to shops, all that kind of jazz, you know, just to build up some social skills. And yeah, they helped us a lot. It's sort of like working with deaf children. You're not just teaching them like maths, English and all that jazz. You're also helping them become better versions of themselves. You're coaching them. You're trying to give them life skills to help them have a great start in life. Trying to give them the best you can, because you want the best for them. And that's what some of the dados actually did with us. They put a lot of hard work into us that I appreciate 100%. Because of the base in this school, our school is very inclusive and accepting. which is great. With his sons on and all that. However, at that time, I still felt different. I wasn't aware of quite why I felt different, and I wasn't sure about how I felt about it. It wasn't good or bad. I could just tell. And back then, I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing. Looking back, I would have loved to tell myself, yes, you're different, and it's a great thing. Like, go with it, run with it. It's the coolest thing ever. Don't stress. You know, actually, now that I work in a primary school with deaf children, you know, I always make sure to remind them that it's good to be different, you know, be positive about it. It's the best thing ever, and no one can take that away from you. You know, growing up with a deaf brother was great, and I'm very lucky to have had that, because a lot of deaf people don't always have deaf siblings. It made life easier because I knew that I wasn't the only one that was going through this path in life. There was someone else that was going on this journey with me. I mean, we were stubborn as well. If we were trying to ignore our mum when she was telling us off, we used to whip out a hearing aid and close our eyes and be like, Or like, I remember mum saying that once she was out shopping and Stephanie would go this way and I would go that way. And mum would be like, oh, how can I get hold of him? Oh, we were awful. We were really streaky boys. Being able to sign to each other with like our little secret language at home, good luck. We would do it to each other, but obviously our family started picking up on the signs so they could kind of work out what we were saying. So I guess it wasn't a secret after all. When my youngest brother was born, he always used to go telling everyone how proud he was of having two older deaf brothers. He was born hearing, but he was always fascinated about us being deaf. Like, he knew a couple of signs, and he would always like look out for us and we would look out for him. But you know, if we couldn't hear him, then he would tell us. You know, we're quite close, all three of us, and we do look out for each other, and we have a good bond. High school, secondary school was a massive step in my life. Like, going from primary, after just getting used to it, it was like wham bam, boom, you're going somewhere else. And it was different. Not everyone went to schools that had deaf children in. So there were quite a few children in my year that were literally like, what is that on your ear? Like, why can't you hear me? Do you do sign language? And all that. At that time, I wasn't signing, and I was just explaining to them, yeah, I'm deaf, you know, I can still understand you. I just need to read your lip, but just be patient with me, and don't go like this. You know, quite a few people were quite cool with it. However, there were quite a few that were just, I'd like to say very close-minded and had no care for it, and I would get picked on quite a bit. Obviously, being picked on, that would knock my confidence down. So for quite a few years, I had like quite low self-esteem and low confidence. I made quite a lot of hearing friends and also fell out with quite a few. I didn't tend to mix with other deaf children as much because it was such a big school, and I would meet more people that had a lot more stuff in common with me, and I wanted to meet more people that had stuff in common with me. Not just, I didn't want being deaf to be the common factor. I wanted to meet people that had other things in common at the school, like same kind of band, same kind of video games. So I was curious. Saying that, I discovered my love of music in year 9, and I started hanging around with lots of people that were playing musical instruments, which influenced me to pick up my first guitar and bass. And from there we were in a little circle and we used to talk about guitar, music and stuff like that. And it was quite cool, you know? Yeah, there was a deaf bass in the secondary school, but we were immersed in mainstream 95% of the time. The other 5% of the time would be like, if we were struggling with something in class, they would take it out for just a little booty session, just to be like, hey, are you alright? What do you need to work on? Like, are you struggling with this? Okay, let's just go over it, you know? That really helped. The issue I faced there was, I did not want a signed interpreter in my classes, as I would not sign in and I relied on lip reading. I wouldn't quite listen to, and they kept trying to force it on me constantly, and I would flare up and start getting a bit angry about it, understandably so. I used to have continuous meetings with my form tutor and the teacher of the deaf about, why are you not watching the signed interpreter? Because I'm doing just fine lip reading. What about when they turn their back to you? You've got a good point there. You know, it was always like back and forth, back and forth. There would be arguing. In the end, in year 10, I kind of won the battle by being provided a TA that didn't interpret, wasn't forced interpreting on me, thank God, never forced it. And she was note-taking, and note-taking was amazing. But before I get into note-taking, can I just say, no, please listen to your pupil's voice. It's really important. And I know you want to do the best for your pupils, but please remember, if you're not listening to your pupils, then are you really doing the best for them? Just bear that in mind. Anyway, note-taking was cool because if I had any little thing that I miss, I could have it written down. That's one, yeah. But two, sometimes I found it hard to retain things memory-wise. I had all these notes on paper, like in my notebook, just ready for me to take home. It was amazing, you know? For a deaf teenager that had GCSE coming up, I could use these notes to revise. That's why I recommend, if you're deaf and you're in high school, you haven't got a signed interpreter, but you are entitled to support, grab a note taker. Literally, if you're entitled to it, just go for it. It makes such a big difference and it will get you so much further. I promise you. Anyway, year 10 onwards, I became a lot more confident and I would mix in with a lot more people. I was building that confidence up more and more because I was starting to get familiar to my surroundings and all that. High school was also eye-opening. Now, remember I said I felt different in primary for being deaf. High school was different, like, it wasn't just deaf people there. There were people with autism, ADHD, dyslexia, there were people with mobility issues, there were people with loads of other disabilities, people with visual impairment, and, you know, it was an eye-opener for me to see, hey, I'm different. They're different too. They're not the same as me. I'm not the same as them, but we're all different. We all have our little things about us. Being different is cool, and it's okay to be different. And that would clock in my head. I was like, oh my God, I get it, you know? I became a lot more, confident about myself being different near the end of high school. It's a shame that it took so long, but sometimes you really need to go on your own journey to actually just get the clock in your head. After high school, I went to the sixth form now. It wasn't for me and I didn't enjoy it. After I was taking part in the classes, probably the whole winter term, I just felt like I just wasn't getting anything out of this and it wasn't right for me. More and more, I just started feeling like I wasn't on the right path. So eventually I left. As I enjoyed art in high school, I thought, okay, what if I applied for an art college? I knew a couple of people that went to the art college nearby. I got into the art college and I only went for 3 weeks. I know. I went for 3 weeks and I just kept feeling anxious. So anxious that I couldn't physically or mentally persuade myself to go in. The first 3 weeks were difficult as it was, and after that I just couldn't do it. I felt like a failure. I felt like I let myself down, and I felt like I had no direction in life. But worst of all, I couldn't understand what was wrong with me, or why I was being like this. In the end, my mum took me to the doctors, and the doctors actually diagnosed me with anxiety and depression. Everything made a lot of sense about why I felt so anxious or depressed at times in my life. Just everything just clicked into place. As soon as I got help for that, I felt like, when like a weight on the shoulder and that it's finally been lifted, and it's like you're free, you're able to breathe, like you know what's up, you're getting help. I think at that time, people were starting to realise that it's okay to actually talk about mental health, because I know in the past, people didn't want to talk about it, especially men. I was a lot more happier after, and I'm so glad that I actually found that out at that time. After I got help, I started volunteering for like a few places. I remember I volunteered for Oxfam as well. I just helped chop things up, talk to people. I kind of wanted to get my confidence back up, So I volunteered at a primary school base and wanted to see how it went. I was helping these kids and my God, it felt so rewarding. And I felt so happy that I was making a difference for them. And I felt like, being deaf myself, I had like the inside knowledge, like I've got that connection. I get how you're feeling. And I get how I can help you. I get it. I just got so much joy doing this that I thought this is the path I want to be on. This is what I want to do. I want to help make a difference for deaf children. I got given a job and wow, absolutely amazing. At that time I had some guilt, but knowing that I had a few people that were completely deaf that used BSL, I thought I'm going to learn BSL properly. So I took BSL classes. I even took a BTEC in audiology in educational settings. So looking back, that's my life right there. that was my journey. And yes, there were ups and there were downs. But you know what? I wouldn't change it anyway. I wouldn't change one thing. Because my journey has made me who I am today. And I'm proud to be me. I'm proud to be deaf. Few people have asked, what's the best thing and the worst thing about being deaf? The best thing? You're part of a community. Whether you know it or not. You get to read lips. You can spread awareness about being deaf as you go about in life. That's the best thing. And the worst thing? I would say the worst thing is listening fatigue. Some people call it hearing fatigue, but a lot of deaf people actually prefer the term listening fatigue. Listening fatigue is when you get so tired of constantly listening and being aware, of what's going on around you throughout the day, that by the end of it, you're tired, your brain's tired, and you just want to just take out your devices and just switch off. And the other thing is, back then, there were a lack of subtitles on TVs and cinemas. Oh my god, it was so annoying. Have you ever tried to lip read Darth Vader? It's impossible. Anyway, today, there's a lot more subtitles and stuff nowadays. I remember a childhood friend actually set up a website called www.yourlocalcinema.com, and it shows you where in the UK they are showing subtitles in cinemas. So, subtitles are a lot more frequent today. Although, there's always going to be the odd one or two that don't have subtitles. But I will never watch his channel. No point. Anyway, that's my experience. I hope you got something out of it and you've learned something. At the end of the day, no matter how much life gets you down, just get back up and just go for it, At the end of the day, anything possible. You got this. Next episode, episode 3, is all about deaf awareness. Yay! In fact, in a month, we've got Deaf Awareness Week coming up. Did you know that there's an actual week for Deaf Awareness Week? Well, if not, now you do. I've had loads of questions about it already. So many of you are actually keen to actually know how to communicate and what are the do's and don'ts, and what could be considered rude or what could be considered impolite, and a way to do gestures and stuff. I just thought, you know what, you guys are really keen on actually learning about these things, And there's one more thing that I do need to say. This generation now are a lot more open-minded and a lot more inclusive than generation before. That's one thing. Anyway, going back to it, I'll be doing an episode and then on all of that. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and turn on the little notification. Until next time, take it easy, look after yourself, and I'll see you in episode 3. Much love. Ciao.